Hey guys, this is Nick Christopher from Mobtails. Hope you guys are doing well. I know if you haven't been here in a bit, we had a lot of things going on, holidays, blah, 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 me moving to a new location. So it was a bit crazy. So we come back today, and I have a very special guest, great guy, super talented, and one of the best attorneys around. Uh, Doug Anton, thanks a lot for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Well, first, I just want to say one thing. I haven't seen you in a bit, and you look like you lost weight.
Well, it's interesting. I've always had struggles with weight all my life. I used to be very, very heavy. I used to be 585 pounds in 2001. We didn't know each other then. And in 2002, I had a gastric bypass and I lost
Wow.
all the weight, lost about 300 plus pounds. And so I've maintained about 235 to 255 over a period of time. I walked into my doctor's office about 2 years ago and he was in great shape all of a sudden. And I said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, you got to try this Ozempic." I tried it for 6 months. I lost like 50 pounds and it got me down to a weight where I felt great working out again. And I've just been working out like a beast ever since. So it's a good boost to get you there. And then you take it from there yourself. So I thank you. It's been a while. We've had discussions, but it's been a while since we've seen each other. So I'm down about maybe 30, 40 pounds, 50 pounds since the last time you saw me.
Wow. Oh, you
Yeah,
look good. That's good.
I appreciate it.
Um, well, to give people a little bit of background about you, uh, Doug is an attorney, criminal attorney, but it does some other stuff as well besides that, and he'll explain. And he has represented a lot of important individuals. Um, R. Kelly, to mention one. Maybe some people may not like him, some people may like him, some may not like him. You know, it depends on what you want. But Doug is very, well accomplished, successful career as an attorney. And my first question that I sent you, as you may already know, that if I can read right now because I'm wearing my sunglasses, like you're really that good. But I know you do some criminal cases, and you had some very important cases in your career. Is there anyone that really stood out for you the most?
Well, it's interesting. As an attorney of 30 years now, I have had the pleasure of, and I have my own law firm pretty much for 27 or 28 of those years. I've had my own practice. I worked for a bunch of different places, and I didn't work well with others, let's say. I like to work 24 hours a day. I like to do things my way. And it turns out my way seems to be the right way, at least for the clients that I represent. Um, every client is unique in different ways. I will say that the most intelligent clients are the ones I enjoy working with the best because they get the strategy I'm going with. Sometimes clients just can't pick up on the strategy I'm going with, and a lot of times it's outside the box, so I can understand that. But I'm 57 now, and there used to be a clothing company here called Sims, where they say an educated consumer is our best customer. You probably remember
I
those.
remember
Yeah.
that.
So an educated client is always my best client, especially in the serious cases. Having represented Sammy the Bull in his getting out of his charges early in 2017, his federal charges, he's a very intelligent human being. And he's the real McCoy, just like John Alight is a real McCoy. And there's a lot of folks who are the real McCoy, and you know that when you sit and talk with them because they're intelligent, they get it right away. They've been through the system, so. But each case has different nuances. The sex crimes cases, like with R. Kelly and stuff like that, have nuances to them. The drug cases, the treason, the arson, the murder. There's all kinds of different cases. So each defendant stands out in a unique way, but most of them are people who find themselves up against the law. And my job is to defend them under the system we have and to make it the most difficult for the government or the state prosecutor to prove their case by the burden, which is beyond a reasonable doubt. That's my job.
Well, now for some people, I'm curious about this sometimes myself. Somebody like yourself, right? Because you're a good guy, you're a straight laced guy. You're a good person all around. And sometimes you come across clients that may not be the most, well-to-do clients in society, so to speak. R. Kelly, Sammy Gravano, for example.
Well, I
I,
differ with those. I differ with that. They're both wonderful people. But go
oh
ahead.
no, I'm saying the general public may think that way.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, Sammy, I never knew very well. I knew his sister, I knew his daughter,
right.
but nevertheless, you know, have you ever felt like, wow, do I really want to take this case? This guy is not, or this woman, or this guy is not so well respected in society. Do I really want to take this case? It's gonna maybe shine a different light on me. Do you ever? I wonder if attorneys like yourself that do cases like this ever come across that, like feeling, wow, should I do this? Should I not do this?
If I took that, or any criminal defense attorney took that position, we couldn't effectively do our jobs, or there would be no such thing as criminal defense attorneys. I'll tell you flat out, I am against murder. I'm against arson. I'm against rape. I'm against all these things. That I represent a defendant's rights under the Constitution or under the law to a proper defense against the government does not mean I stand by that person. I support what they're claimed that they have done, or that I take any great joy in getting, let's say, a guilty person off because the government or the prosecution went beyond their scope in trying to convict someone. I don't get great joy out of knowing that perhaps a guilty person is out there in the world. However, we have a system of law, which I love and respect, both the state prosecution side, the plaintiff side in a civil matter, and the defense side. Somebody has to stand up for people so that this government and the state can prove them beyond a reasonable doubt guilty. And that is the criminal defense attorney. Any criminal defense attorney who gets a moral strike in him, says, oh, I can't represent this person, is not an effective criminal defense attorney. Even if they let one case go. I can understand how a person who's not skilled at it or has the setup for it won't take on a murder case, but not because, oh, that guy is alleged to have murdered somebody, or I even see video of him murdering somebody. It's just they're not set up to take on a case like that. There's a lot of forensic, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there was 6 million pages of discovery just in R. Kelly's case alone. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we have to go over and deal with. We got to have a team for it. But you can't effectively be a criminal defense. I would represent anyone. The devil himself could come and ask for representation. I would represent him. And here's the interesting thing. That's the only way the system works, because if we go to trial and you have someone like me or in New Jersey, Marco LaRocca or Frank Carbonetti or some of these other attorneys who just dedicate, or Ron Barnadoff, who just dedicate themselves to this, the structure of law and making sure a client is represented to the fullest, then you know if they are found guilty, that the system worked. And the person was found by a jury of their peers to be guilty. But if they're found not guilty, you have to ask, what was done that made a jury find them not guilty? Perhaps they were innocent, or perhaps the police went outside the parameters. Now, yes, it's okay for the police, to some people, to go outside the parameters to put a guy in jail if on the video it was him murdering somebody. Everybody knows it was him. But what about that extension of rights that police go and take liberties with? What happens when that applies to you the next time where you were really innocent? There's either a theory of, I'm okay with a couple innocent people going to jail so long as all the bad guys go to jail, or not one innocent person should ever go to jail, even if it means letting some of the bad guys free. And I'm on the latter of that. And I know a lot of people, especially women in my life, who are on the other side of that. And I understand their position as well.
Okay. Well, being that you have represented a lot of different individuals, celebrities, and so forth, has there been any prosecuting attorney that you admired going up against?
Yes. I would have to say 99% of the prosecutors are excellent prosecutors. State of New Jersey, especially in Bergen County, great prosecutor's office. It has been for my entire practice. That's the one I'm most familiar with. The U.S. Attorney's Office Assistant U.S. Attorney's Office in Southern District of New York and Eastern District of New York, excellent attorneys, New Jersey as well. Very rarely do I find and I did have this one time early in my career. I found a prosecutor to have made a mistake in identifying to a witness the defendant in the hallway outside of when we were about to go into trial. For example, the prosecutor was standing out in the atrium of the elevator. The witness came off the elevator and said to the prosecutor, "Is he here?" And the prosecutor pointed over. Now, there was 4 people in the hallway. If that person coming off the elevator couldn't have looked at my client and already identified that that was him, there's no way he should be able to get on the stand and identify that it's him when he saw it before people.
That's crazy.
I didn't see it, but my client did see it. And I raised it with the judge. And I remember the word he used was, "I take great umbrage to what Mr. Anton is accusing me of." And I remember I didn't even know what the word meant, umbrage, at the time. It was one of my first cases in the late 90s. And that was somebody who just couldn't accept. Prosecutors I know would be like, "Judge, I did do that, but I think there should be a hearing on whether the witness could have independently identified in a Wade hearing." However, if the witness says the only reason why I recognize that person is because the prosecutor pointed him out, then the case should be dismissed, Judge. And that's what the prosecutors I know would do, because the totality of fairness in the law is the most important thing, not that individual case.
Wow, interesting. Okay. You have recently been involved with something, I think, with the cannabis.
With what?
With weed, with cannabis.
Yes.
If I'm saying that correct, you're sort of an advocate for it, and
Yes.
about being legalized in 2027.
Well, yep.
I mean, isn't it? I mean, maybe I'm a little naive about it, but because there's so many different dispensaries open, so isn't it already legal? I mean, unless I'm confused.
Yes, I'll explain. Okay, so let's talk about being a proponent. I have never smoked weed once in my life. It's not that I'm against smoking weed. I just don't like the smell when other people smoke it, and I'm a little bit of a control freak. So I don't want to not be in control of myself. It's dangerous for me not to be in control of myself. So I've never smoked weed. However, although it wasn't legal at the time when my dad passed away in 2015, I wish it were. I just started with medicinal because I think it would have helped him in some of the pains he had rather than taking oxys all the time. But it started out, it's a state by state thing. So each state decides if they want to legalize cannabis. And it started with legalizing as medical marijuana. It started with, I think, Colorado and California, starting it as medical marijuana for medicinal uses. And then it went on to opening up to recreational use for growers and for manufacturers and distributors and recreational cannabis. I have been a proponent of getting licenses for clients who want to get licenses. I think we've gotten upwards of 30, 40 licenses for clients. The problem is, at least in New Jersey, is there are not only 32 or 40% of the towns in New Jersey have legalized cannabis. The great majority have not. So therefore, real estate on where to put the dispensaries, which is the places that sell to end users, there's not a lot of those places. So I have a lot of clients who received licenses that we've gotten for them, but they can't actually place the license in a facility, in a location. And over time, that will open up. And I have clients, in fact, even myself, I've been involved in ownership of a cannabis license. And it's a tough business. I got to tell you, it's not... it's been several months now, and we're still operating at a loss. It's in a great location, but we're still operating at a loss, and we need a certain amount of customers to come in, and it's just not reaching that level yet. So I have to be very careful about what we do, and then we got to advertise and build up the business. And it's a great location, but it's not federally legal yet. However, some things have changed, which I think we're really good on the track. President Trump is for descheduling, to the best of my knowledge, he's for descheduling cannabis for medicinal purposes for sure. He is not weighed in yet on what he wants to do about federal recreational cannabis. The new attorney general is been in favor of rescheduling or descheduling cannabis. What that means is rescheduling as a schedule 1, 2, 3 drug. So if they deschedule it, it's not a drug anymore that is barred under criminal statutes and to most degree, and it can be sold across state lines and so on and so forth. That will just blow up the businesses in every state. I like the regulation now. It's not bad. It's a little restrictive, but it's a good way to get started. So there are certain things that have changed recently, and I mean very recently, in the tax code that seem to be trying to make it a rescheduling of federal cannabis. Now, the Bank Act, I forget the name of it, the Safe Bank Act or something like that, that was a couple of years ago. That made it so, well, federal banking for cannabis businesses would violate the law. It makes it so it's not so much of a violation of the law. So everything that I see in the law is steering us towards the federal descheduling, not just rescheduling, but rescheduling will come first, the federal descheduling of cannabis, but regulated, so that states and the federal government will work together in the scheduling and the descheduling and the regulation of cannabis so that people can get the benefits of it, but then we'll monitor the negative effects of it.
Well, when is that supposed to take place, or when do you think that might take place?
I think the DEA has a huge thing they're doing on June 9th or 19th that'll affect it, because the DEA talks about the rescheduling and the classification of drugs. And after that, there'll be maybe a couple more tax laws. But I think by the end of 2027, legislation should be in the pipeline to be voted on to deschedule. I think there'll be a rescheduling by the end of this year and then a descheduling by the end of next year, but with a lot of restrictions. And President Trump is all for letting the states make the decision, but removing the scheduling from the federal statutes makes it so, for example, right now, if you want to sell weed in New Jersey and you have a dispensary, you can only sell New Jersey grown weed. Keeps it within the state. And it's not price gouging, but it's price restrictive to some degree because they know they can sell. If you were to open that up to federal, you could buy from other states and so on and so forth. It makes it much more open. Like what they were trying to do with insurance for a while. It makes it much more anti-monopolistic and much more competitive.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting. For the people that like weed, there you go.
Yep.
Well, you had a client of yours, a mutual friend of ours, John A. Light, and not too long ago. And he was obviously a very interesting character, let alone the fact that he's a councilman now, which blows a lot of people's mind. Now, I know myself, when I was working on the book with him, and you were a part of that, called Prison Rules, and, you know, I personally got a lot of pushback for it, and from the Gotti family. I'm wondering if you were affected at all when you started working with him from the outside.
I'll say this. Do you know when, I've never been able to do it, but you know when you see guys who jump up in the air and click their heels, like yippee. Everything John has done is in his post criminal life has been make me at least mentally do that. I like John as a human being. Now, people will call him a rat, and they say, but they don't know the whole story behind John, about what he was facing. And I know only what I've read and what I've seen, so I have nothing negative to say about John Gotti Jr. In fact, I've seen his stories played out in various things, and I respect what he had to go through having a dad like that. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but just having a domineering leader of a father. It's tough being John Gotti's son. And my father was not involved in the mafia, but he was a very domineering man. So it's tough being a son of that person. And it makes you strive to be great. So I have nothing negative to say about him, but I will say that I've come to learn that John Elite was put in a position where everybody else had thrown away the mafia book as far as what they're supposed to do with regard to the rules. And all he did was go to court and tell the truth with no benefit to himself, even if he told the truth. But people had stabbed him in the back, according to what I understand, and he wanted to make sure people knew that they couldn't do that to him. But anyway, I like John. I always have. And we have a tumultuous relationship sometimes. John's probably fired me as his agent and his manager and his lawyer a number of times. But we seem to always get back together. Usually it's over a cigar. I wasn't shocked that John became a councilman. In fact, I spoke with John yesterday because, with respect, I whenever I do interviews that might mention his name, I like to clear it with him first to make sure that he understands the parameters of what I'm talking about. So not only has John, and I wrote these notes down, not only as a councilman, but he's now been elected president of that council for the last 10 months. And he's currently running with the mayor of, I think it's Eatontown or Englishtown, with the mayor for chairperson of the Monmouth County Republican Party. And John gives what's called leadership through strength. Nobody doesn't know who John is when he's running for office. People came to the meetings. It's like, do you know we're having a former hitman as our guy? Nobody was shocked. Everybody knows who John is. And he has leadership through strength. He has been at the bottom of the barrel, been through the worst, seen the worst. You can't be a good leader unless you know what the people you're leading at the lowest levels of poverty and crime and everything are going through. That's what makes John unique. And he's the most honest person you'll ever want to meet because he has nothing that he can hide. It's all out there in the world. Everything he does, he's an open book. And I remember there's a scene in the movie The Town with Ben Affleck where she goes, "Why would I believe anything you say?" And Ben Affleck says, "Because you'll hate every one of my answers." And that's why you could believe what John has to say, because when you ask him questions, you'll probably hate a lot of the answers, but at least you know you're getting the truth. Same thing with Donald Trump. He does what he says. You might hate it, but he does what he says. And that is a lost thing in this society, I believe, a man keeping his word. And John keeps his word, even through medical problems of his own. He doesn't stop trying to do the right thing. Now, is he just the greatest human being in the world? Or is there some aspect of looking for a little redemption of what he knows was bad things he did in his life? And there is that aspect. He knows the bad things he did, but the circumstances that led it to it. And he's looking for that redemption. And with God's assistance and some prayer, perhaps he'll get that and find himself in a good place.
Yeah, no, I'm into that. Well, in your experience as an attorney, where do you see the current state of how would I put the best word I'm looking for here in your profession, right? Especially involving the illegal aliens in this country right now. What's going on with what is your take on that issue?
All right. Well, so that we're clear, I am a Republican. I'm a conservative for the most part. However, I also respect the law among the highest of things. If the president or the government goes outside the law, I'm not happy about it. And there are situations going on now where there's some borderline things happening. I'm also conservative religiously to some degree, but I'll give you an example. I am against abortion. I'm against abortion in all types of manners, no matter what happened. I'm against abortion because of the life of the mother. I'm against abortion because of rape. I'm against abortion. However, that's just my belief. I am not about to tell a woman what to do with her body. I don't think any government should tell a woman what to do with her body, not because I'm this wonderful pro-woman person, which I am for the most part, but because I don't want anybody telling me what to do with my body. So that's where I draw the line. I can still, like sinners, I can believe in God and pray, but still sin. And that's sad, but that happens to everybody. We're all sinners. I can still believe that I'm against abortion, but yet stand up for a woman's right to make decisions on her own on what she believes is best with her body. Now, I would also caution people to not take getting pregnant so lightly, but that's not for me to regulate. I got enough issues with my own regulation of my life. But with regard to where we stand with the president and immigration, a rule of law, just like Obama had to deal with. And by the way, the president is not saying anything that every politician for the last 40 years has said. America first, as a rule of law. Why? Because we have to do for our country, and everybody does for their own country, and we try to help people in their own countries as well. But you've got to take care of your own first, because I'm paying you to take care of me. I'm paying you my tax monies to put out the fires when my house is on fire, to have the police come when my house is being broken into, to have whatever agency is out there. I'm paying for that. If I pay for someone to paint my house, I don't expect them to paint somebody else's house. I expect them to paint my house. And that's a very transactional way to look at it. But let's start with that. America first. That's a mandate that put this president in office, or any person who was going to run for office that said the same thing, because it got out of hand. Now, why do I think it got out of hand? I hate to say it. I'm not a conspiracy theory person, but there's no reason that the government would massively let so many people in, except for the fact that by doing so, it would change the census numbers to redistrict various areas to hopefully the Democrats, to keep them in power. I don't see any logical reason otherwise. I wish I did. And I have a lot of Democrat friends, and we talk all the time because I respect everybody's opinions. I never take a stalwart position and say, go fuck yourself. I'm sorry if I curse on the show.
That's all right.
Okay, go to hell and this and that. Some of my best friends are Democrats, and we disagree on everything. Former girlfriend of mine was a Democrat. We disagree on everything, politics. But you know what? I respect their opinion, and I listen to it, because I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I want to learn from various things people have to say. So I listen to everything, and that's what everybody should do. But I've known people that, you're not a Republican, are you? Yeah, I am. Click, hang up. That's no way to have an understanding about life.
That's true. That's right. Well, just to kind of like come to one of my last questions. What is Doug Anton doing now? What new clients can you possibly speak of, or what is your next step in your career that would that's different than what you've done so far?
Fortunately, on a weekend, I'm still getting calls. So I'll say this: my life is busy. I have a lot of clients. I have 24 hours in a day. I have more work to do than 24 hours in a day. So every one of my hours is occupied. I'm slowly starting to back away from that, in the sense that 57 years old now. I'm now in the greatest shape of my life, except when I was in high school and wrestling 188. I'm about that right now. I rebuilt muscle tone and things on me, which is great. And at my age, it gets to be a concern. I want to enjoy life more. I have 3 amazing nieces that I'd like to spend more time with. One's in law school. I think another one's on their way. And I have a great practice that I built for 30 years. I'd love to be able to turn it over to them if they're interested. I have great people that work for me, great people that have worked for me, who are coming out of law school now, that I would love to have come back and work for me. I'm enjoying all the good things. I have a couple cars I have fun with, couple houses I have fun with, business, cannabis business, and I just started this thing called Smack Fighting Championships. It takes the best of boxing and the enjoyment of this new thing called slap fighting, where you stand at a podium and slap the crap out of each other, and it merges into what's called Smack Fighting Championship. John Alite and I had talked about this, and he's a good proponent about putting ideas in my mind, because he was a fighter as well. And I'm not professionally, I don't think, but he knows boxing. And it's a big new venture that we're doing with X Rumble and Damon Feldman, which is a fantastic group to be involved with celebrity boxing. So there are exciting things happening, but I'm starting to relax a little. I've got to take some time to relax and enjoy. I have a nice boat that I like. It's not a yacht type thing where I have to have a lot of people in. I get the most minimal thing that I can handle, so that I can finish a work day, go get on it, have some fun, come back, go do what I got to do. Otherwise, if it had to be something where I need to call the yacht master to get it ready and this, it's just too much. So I want to enjoy my life. 9/11 is further behind me than 70 years old is in front of me. That says something in my mind, because 9/11 still seems like it's so recent to all of us.
Yeah.
So as long as I'm able, I want to continue to represent clients and help them out and do involved in new businesses, and just love and be loved and live and just let other people enjoy living.
But if now people want just to end the show, which first of all, I loved you coming on the show. I really appreciate it. If people wanted to contact you, where would they go to contact you?
If you just Google my name, Douglas Anton, or if you want to add a lawyer, Douglas Anton Lawyer, there's all kinds of contact information there. But they could just email me, Douglas with one S, Anton @gmail.com. All one word, douglasanton@gmail.com. Email me. I live through my emails. I'd rather get an email than even a phone call, because then it gives me a little preface on what we're about to talk about. It educates me, and then I'll be able to better answer any legal questions or have a better discussion about it. Like in this interview, I asked you for a couple of the topics, and you generally just let me know, and it made me more intelligent on those issues so I can be more effective for your listeners.
One last question.
Yeah.
Because I know you're in New Jersey. So if somebody, does it matter if somebody, let's say, is in New York and contacts you? Does it make a difference?
No, not at all. And I'll tell you the difference. So in law, you're licensed in each state that you're licensed in. You either pass the bar or you waive into a state via reciprocity by the bar. So I'm licensed in Michigan. I'm licensed in New Jersey by having taken the bar. And then New York, you waive in by what's called reciprocity. You don't have to take the bar exam again. Illinois for R. Kelly state cases, and in California for Stephen Piercy's cases and other cases like that, we do what's called pro hoc vice. I'm no superstar, but attorney of my experience, it's not hard to find another attorney in the state. I have a lot of friends who will stand in with me. And what happens is basically, if I do anything wrong, they and I take the responsibility, but it's mostly for service of process. However, that's only to appear in the courts of the state. To appear in the courtroom and litigate a case, there has to be another attorney to stand in with you if you're not licensed in that state. But to do law, like I do entertainment law with California, Colorado, internationally, to do the paperwork of it, you don't have to be licensed in that state to do it. You'd be smart to work with counsel in that state so you know the nuances of the law. But I've represented John in matters down in Florida where I'm not licensed, with Florida counsel down there, and in other states as well.
Oh, okay. Beautiful. All right. Well, Doug, thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
We will speak again for sure.
I'd love to. You take care. I love your show.
You too. Wish you a lot of luck.
All right. Take care.
Take care, buddy.
Bye-bye.